During the end of FNAF 6, our beloved Mike gets scooped and injected with Ennard, which if you don't know is basically a combination of Funtime Freddy, Funtime Foxy, Ballora, and Daddy's girl Circus baby. With Ennard now inside Mike, they use him to escape Sister location and after a period of time, forcibly eject themselves out of Mike into the sewers. And this is where things start to get interesting because the next time we see Ennard, he's missing someone. That's right, Circus baby, and has now become Molten Freddy. How and why did they eject Circus baby? And when did this even happen? There's far more to this story than meets the eye, and we're going to uncover it all in today's video, so get ready.
I've been looking everywhere for you.
Now we'll cover why she was ejected in just a moment. Obviously after she gets ejected, she becomes Scrap Baby, and the name there kinda gives it away. She rebuilds herself into her version of herself using scrap and pieces from her old endoskeleton. And it's even confirmed in the Fazbear files that the claw she has on her arm is actually the claw she had inside of her in Circus Baby. She simply repurposed it for her arm. So after she was ejected from Ennard, it's highly likely she went around other Fazbear Entertainment pizzerias looking for scraps of old animatronics so she could rebuild herself leading up to the events of FNAF 6. Now like I said earlier, there hasn't really been a super official explanation as to why Ennard ejected Baby in the first place, but there's some pretty good ideas out there and a huge Easter egg which was found in the Scott Games and FNAF World conversation coding. It shows us an argument within the hive mind of Ennard between Baby and the others, with the others rebelling against Baby and eventually ejecting her from the rest of the body. But I don't believe this to be the catalyst, there's far more, but this is how the official conversation went down in their mind. You are crowding us. Be quiet. You can't tell us what to do anymore. Yes, I can, and you will do everything that I tell you to do. We outnumber you. That doesn't matter, dummy. We found a way to eject you. You'd be lost without me. Say goodbye to our friend. I can put myself back together. And with that last sentence, she gets ejected from Ennard. And she does exactly that. She does rebuild herself. But this isn't the end, and that isn't the only reason they ejected her, you see. Because just like in Sister Location, Circus Baby was manipulating the others, just like she manipulated Mike. Because you gotta remember, the others are children. They're not killers like Afton. They just want revenge. But Elizabeth, on the other hand, she wasn't killed by Afton. She was killed by the robot itself. And she wants nothing more than to make her daddy proud. And she wants to be a killer, just like her old man. And that knowledge there, she was more than likely keeping from the other souls in Ennard, till eventually they found out that Baby was indeed William Afton's daughter. And I'm pretty sure they're not going to be very happy about this. And for various reasons, of course. One, they will have different opinions on William Afton. Two, she's a naturally born killer and wants to kill. The animatronics don't want to kill, really. They just want revenge. But Baby, being manipulative as she was, tried to keep this from the others, but eventually when they were all in Ennard, they learned of her true identity and her true intentions, and they wasn't gonna have this. So rather than just simply giving it another controlled shock, they decided just to eject her, and based on the fact that she was extremely bossy. But here's the really strange thing. We don't know exactly when in the timeline they ejected her. We know roughly when they got ejected from Mike together as Ennard and went into the sewers, but we don't know when she was ejected from Ennard. It could have been any point after the sewers up to FNAF 6, which is a long period in time. But we do have some indication because we know when FNAF 6 takes place, Scrap Baby is basically fully formed. She's remade herself, and she would have had to have gone to at least several pizzerias to get all them parts to rebuild herself. So the likelihood is they ejected her at some point in the sewers or not long after the initial ejection from Mike. This would then give her enough time to visit other Freddy Fazbears, collect parts, rebuild herself, and then have that call from the FNAF 6 pizzeria to go there and try and impress her dad. And we know this to be true because Scrap Baby actually speaks to the player, gloating over her access to more of the children's souls and telling her father she can continue his work before she is interrupted by Henry. This is obviously after she's made her way to the FNAF 6 pizzeria, and before the game and the official name was actually released, people were calling her the Freak Show Baby. And at this stage stage, it's also worth pointing out that it's highly likely she went back to the original Sister location and salvaged her old Circus baby parts before moving on and picking up scraps from other pizzerias. But at this stage you might be thinking, well, Ennard would be fully aware that Circus baby is now in the FNAF 6 pizzeria along with them, but obviously at this stage they have turned into Molten Freddy, because after ejecting her they relinquish control and give it to Funtime Freddy, and he becomes the main driving force. Thus they become Molten Freddy. There doesn't seem to be any interaction between the two characters in FNAF 6 or any mention of the fact that they were one, so maybe they've simply forgotten, which is a thing animatronics seem to do throughout the franchise, or they've moved on from it. Highly unlikely. Let's just give them another controlled shock to be sure. Now I said earlier when she was ejected she could have returned to Sister location, and this is where things take an interesting turn, because if she did return to Sister location, it is highly likely she will cross the one and only Mike. Mike, now basically being a zombie and knows that that is his sister inside of what would have been baby, could just be a blob at this stage, tries to build her back himself. He repairs her, turns her into Scrap Baby himself. There's an entire argument for that theory, especially with baby being extremely manipulative. She could have said that obviously Ennard was the one in control, the one manipulating Mike as opposed to her. She could turn the sweetness on and get Mike to rebuild her, rebuilding that family. This then obviously plays into Security Breach, but we're missing one huge thing here. Before Security Breach, FNAF 6 happens, she's Scrap Baby and a literal killer, and her dialogue shows us that she's far more sinister as Scrap Baby than she ever was as Circus Baby, so I find it hard to believe that if Mike did put her back together, she turned into this menacing machine with a scooper slash chainsaw thing on her arm. Mike wouldn't have built that, so although it would have been great to say that Mike repaired his sister, turned her into Scrap Baby, etc., just doesn't make sense. There isn't enough evidence for it in my eyes. Unless Mike started to repair her, did the very basics, and then baby escaped. Went her own direction. I mean, she wanted to escape ever since day one in Sister location, and she goes out into the world to find new parts to become Scrap Baby, hence how we see her in FNAF 6. And with that being said, my friends, we also know that Molten Freddy survives FNAF 6 fire. He basically comes back as the Blob, or as is now known, Tangle. Does that mean that Scrap Baby can also come back as something else? What happened to Mike? Did he even die in the fire of FNAF 6? I mean, people always assume he wanted to die, but he's never once said that at all. Henry is the one speaking for him in FNAF 6, saying he has a way out planned for him, but it's not what he wants.
Although there was a way out planned for you, I have a feeling that's not what you want. I have a feeling that you are right where you want to be. I am remaining as well. I am nearby.
How did he know what he wants? But anyway, I'm going off pace. I'll rein it back in. But the real reason Ennard ejected baby was because she was posting memes in general chat. Obviously, no one likes that. This is designated chat for it. The moderators simply kicked her out. Banned. But on a serious note, the real reason is far more than initially meets the eye. She manipulated the others. She tried to take control, became too bossy. Their goals were misaligned, and ultimately, they found out she was a fake. They didn't want to be killers like her. They didn't want to be known for that. They didn't want to be controlled by baby. So they ejected her. That, my friends, is the real reason. But as to what actually happened after she was ejected up to FNAF 6, well, I have my theories. And the one question from this video which is still on my mind, is Mike still alive? And I've got the answer to that question on the channel. I highly recommend checking it out. Hope you've enjoyed today's video. I'd also like to say that this video idea was given to me by my good friend Logan Entertainment. So thanks, Logan. Really appreciate it. I'm Twisty from Twisted Animatronic. Stay safe out there, superstars. And just before you go, a very quick one. You might be wondering why I'm sat here in a shirt and tie. Well, a quick one for you. I'm actually off to a party just after this, so I'm dressed up as snazzy as I possibly could be. And Freddy's coming with me. Hope you all have a great day, afternoon, wherever you're doing. See you in the next one.